Hi, this is 𝗦𝘂𝗶𝘁𝗯𝗹 and I'm going to cover the topic of how to choose a suitable plastic supplier, suitable for your needs. All right. Okay, presented by myself. So the thing is, unfortunately, it is not easy, not simple to pick the right plastic supplier. You need to understand key topics about the tooling, about the plastic parts, etc. All right, I'm going to try to help you here. So it's more complicated than it seems. So it's a very widespread manufacturing process. However, buyers are often frustrated. Why? There's several very common issues. Some poor quality situations because of poor molds, insufficient drying, etc., etc. It's not always done very well, okay, and it triggers a lot of quality issues. Also, the molds are a substantial investment and they often get damaged or lost, or, oh, now is too old, we need to replace it. Well, how come? We spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars, or maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So this needs to be managed better. And also sometimes they are taken hostage, okay? Not just in China, but often in China. Okay, so the first big topic here is there's 4 levels of plastic suppliers. Okay, that's kind of my analysis, all right? And let's go through this, the different levels of plastic suppliers. This is a very big topic that you need to understand if you're going to buy plastic parts. Okay, so, and I just call them level 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go through level 1 first. So that's where you get the lowest mold price and also usually the cheapest plastic parts. Okay, so this is okay if you just have parts with a simple geometry that require simple molds. The problem is there's a high risk of quality issues. So if you're very price sensitive and quality doesn't really matter much, this might be a good fit for you. Okay, so the problem is you might need many trials at the beginning. It's not going to be the fastest. Sometimes they give up. Okay, if your requirements are too high, it's not well communicated. They can only get to this level, but you need that level. At one point, they might give up. Not much transparency on what plastic suppliers they source the polymers from, limited knowledge, poor documentation. I'm going to keep going first so you can see level 1. Quality systems, forget it. They might not have a single quality control employee, nothing, no structured processes, right? Basic workshop, sometimes dirty, sometimes very dirty. Sometimes you have, the dog and so on right there. You have some minor issues pretty much in every batch. But again, it depends what is a minor issue for you. Maybe, poor finishing, a little bit of flash, the line a little bit too visible and things like that, the gate and so on. Maybe you don't mind, right? And then there's some relatively major issues, yeah, from time to time. Okay, obviously it takes more time to manage. Automation very low. Again, the plastic part, the price of the plastic parts, the price of the product tend to be low. And it is a good fit. Again, very simple parts with low requirements. And close to our factory, a lot of our customers stay in a hotel, and then we just go walk behind their hotel. Sometimes I like to take them behind and walk a bit in the back street, and then we see these little shops, and above is actually people, living there, sleeping, right? And next to them are some shops, right? You can see like a table for eating and things like that. These guys are doing EDM, so there's some CNC machining, etc. These guys sell the blocks of steel and they have some rudimentary cutting tools. Okay, so and maybe somewhere in an apartment above there's a tooling designer. So a lot of different parties. That's very common in some parts of China. Okay, so that's level 1. Okay, now if we go back to this, so level 2, 3, 4 is, let's say, better and more expensive as you go, right? So you need to pick your the right level. Level 4 is going to be, well, the Miele appliances that come with a 20-year warranty and so on. I've been in one of their factories in Dongguan also. very, very well. Highly automated, temperature, humidity controlled, everything very nice. Okay, but not the cheapest, right? So do you need level 4? Not sure, right, for your product. Most of our customers need somewhere between level 2 and level 3. Okay, and I let you, just pause the video and go through this as you want to know more. I'm not going to read everything. Okay, but there's a lot of telltale signs, basically. Okay, and a lot of things you can expect. The issues in production, etc. It goes lower and lower. Automation, etc., tends to be higher. The capability, technical capabilities, the level of technical support you can get, the quality of their DFM reviews, etc., really goes up with every level. Okay, some questions. Okay, this is trying to make this helpful. All right, so some critical questions. What experience do they have with similar projects? Okay, maybe you're trying to do something that's very different from what they usually do, obviously. Do they do mold design in-house? Do they do all the machining in-house, right? So the grinding, the spark erosion, EDM, wire EDM, etc., CNC machining, polishing, etc., right? What contractual protections? Very important. And who is going to pay for the mold? Who is going to own the mold? If you pay the mold in full and you own the mold, can you pull it at any time? Is this something that they can confirm in writing? In China, very often they do not want you to take it away, and they will not agree, even if you pay it in full. So be careful with that. Okay, can you visit during tooling production? Of course, to make sure that they actually make it themselves if they say that they will make it themselves. Risk management, as I mentioned, there's quality issues. The tooling might be held hostage and things like that. So try to cover your bases here, do some basic due diligence, etc. Try to have the design files of the mold, not just the CAD drawings of the part, but also of the mold itself, right? If you pay for it, you pay for design, you own all the intellectual property, you should have that, okay? Okay, the design and the validation of the tooling itself, of the molds, typically. All right, very important. Try to do testing, try to get user feedback as much as possible, usually based on 3D printed parts. More and more what we do is we actually do 3D printed molds to very quickly do plastic injection molding of these parts and then test them. This is much better in terms of validation. Design manufacturability, okay, DFM analysis. Again, the quality of the DFM analysis, including by the tool designer, varies greatly between different plastic suppliers. Okay, and you really need to avoid assuming things, get things in written, right? What's the lifetime of the mold going to be? Also very helpful to compare the quotes, right? Harder steel typically will come with a much longer lifetime. What is the polymer, etc. A lot of things. The shrinkage rate, very important. What material selection and so on. Okay. So the process, try to evaluate the suppliers on their technical maturity. Okay, very, very important, and their ability to reach your requirements, basically. Okay, so what do they do in-house is important, and what level of transparency can you get, including where they actually buy the plastic polymer and what is the exact polymer reference, right? Because then if you need to move production somewhere else, then you can expect the same level of performance. Some other important questions, so as I mentioned, the polymer reference, the lifetime, DFM report, maybe ask, what does your DFM report actually include, right? Is it a very simple one or what? Okay. And really, as a conclusion, careful supplier selection is very important, and you also need to validate the process and also validate the part design, okay, before you make the jump of going into tooling, because you really want to avoid tooling revisions also. Tooling revisions are not cheap and they're not fast. And a lot of companies get surprised. Oh, we need to go back there. We see that the design of the product, even the part needs to change, and then we need to pay some tooling revisions and so on. Try to think carefully about your validations here. Okay, that was a presentation again about how to pick a suitable plastic supplier. I hope that was useful. Let us know if you have questions. Happy to discuss. Thank you.